I'm going to show you how to make my Nan's treacle cake. This cake is so delicious because of the really nice molasses flavour the treacle gives it. It really gives it a nice dark, almost bittersweet flavour. And I'm going to add a few more things to it to make it my own now. I'm going to be adding some ginger and some lime. This is a seriously delicious cake. So in here I've got about 75 grams of butter. I need 75 grams of brown sugar here. And I use a combination of golden syrup, which is a little bit like honey in consistency, but does have more of a milder flavour than the treacle. So I like to use even amounts of the golden syrup and the stronger flavour of the treacle next. So I'm going to measure this accurately. So 100 mils, which is about 1/3 of a cup, and that goes in with the brown sugar. We'll scoop that out. And I will just put the heat on here just to start heating it up. Just on a medium heat is perfect. And now for the treacle. So again, 1/3 of a cup to about 100 millilitres. That I will measure out, and look at this thick, black, almost tarry colour. But I tell you, it does give this cake a wonderful flavour. So in there, all the sugars and the butter to start with. We want to melt it until it starts to come together, and then just allow it to cool slightly. You don't want it to be hot when you're mixing it in with the other ingredients. So we'll just keep an eye on that and allow that to cool. Now we can start with our other ingredients, our dry ingredients. We need about 1 cup of plain flour. So I will place that into a sieve because we do want to sift it. Perfect. Along with some bicarb, and that's going to give it a lovely lightness and lift it. And I'm sifting to make this cake extra light. And I'm quite heavy with the spices here. I've got some ginger, some ground ginger, cinnamon, and some mixed spice. It's a very festive loaf, if you like. Also, we need a little bit of salt in there to bring out the flavours, so a good pinch of salt. And also some zest of the lime. And you can change this up. You could use some lemon, you could use some orange. You could even use some mandarin peel that you've just zested. That gives it a wonderful flavour, especially in the month of mandarins, which is in winter. Now, make sure you keep this lime because I'm going to use it in the icing sugar later. So I'll put that to the side, and some ginger. I've got quite a lot of ginger here. This is about 4 centimetre piece, but I probably need about half of this. The prominent flavours in here is the treacle, the ginger, and the lime zest. Some of my favourite flavours together. All right, plenty. We'll just scrape that off. I'm now just going to mix that together. Now, the dry ingredients are ready to go, so let's have a look over here for the wet ingredients, the sugar component. This is looking good. I'll just break up that brown sugar. Once that butter is melted, we can turn it off because you're just heating it and bringing it together. We're going to allow this to cool room temperature. It's going to take about 10 minutes, and then we can bring this cake together. Okay, this has cooled down nicely. Look how thick and sticky that is. Yum. That goes into our dry ingredients. I've just made a little well in the centre there, and we'll add all of that to our flour mix. We also need some milk, so about 75 millilitres of milk and 1 egg. And I'll crack that whole egg in there also. Perfect. And now this is a really easy mix cake, so we're just going to slowly and gradually incorporate this flour around the sides and mix it until there are no lumps whatsoever. I've also lined a loaf tin with a little bit of paper there, and this is going to bake in the oven for about 50 to 60 minutes at 170 degrees. Now I've allowed the cake to cool completely on a wire rack, and now I'm just going to do a really, really quick icing. So about 3 heaped dessert spoons of icing sugar, and there's only one other ingredient here, the lime juice. So the lime that I've reserved from before, I'm just going to cut that in half and just squeeze out the juice. Now I'll start with half a lime, give it a really, really good mix. Make sure there's no lumps in the icing, and if it's the right consistency, then we don't need to add any more. So slowly mix it in. It smells so good. And this is what the consistency should look like. Absolutely perfect. And then we'll just pour this on, drizzling it in the centre and pretty much just letting it naturally fall into place. And you'll see, if you just let it sit for a bit, it'll start to firm up slightly. Great. Now, just to finish it off, I've got some pistachio nuts here. Totally not necessary, but I do love the colour of them and I love the taste of them too. So just roughly chop them so we can expose some of the green colour in there. And I'll drizzle them on the top over that cake a little bit more. Carefully lift the cake, pop it on there, and a big dollop of cream for your guests to go with my nan's treacle cake. That is super yummy.